Extinction Rebellion Scotland. I'm the Actions Coordinator in Edinburgh, which is exciting and kind of stressful, but yeah. I'm really thankful for the talk that you just gave, and I think loads of stuff came from it. And I think the biggest takeaway is something I've known since I joined XR, which is, as a group, Extinction Rebellion, we need to do better. I'm so thankful for the work that people are doing right now in London. Everything they're giving is absolutely beyond comprehension to me, and I'm so sad not to be there with them. But I'm aware that some of my friends are coming back and they're being like, it's a lot. Because central to the praxis of XR is not this idea of climate justice. And this is probably not a good thing to say as an XR rep, but it's true. I was watching Question Time the other night, and one of our key spokespeople talked of Extinction Rebellion as a great British export. And I was so ashamed, because it was just playing to the vibes of the audience of like Royal Britannia and oh look how great we are. And I just want to get to Devon Islands instead of like being in my road. And I think it's incredibly dangerous for us to follow the narrative of this post-truth, sort of right-wing, vote leave tactic and campaign, because it doesn't do justice, and it doesn't even live up to our first demand, which is tell the truth. The truth is there, the truth is on our side, and I'm talking about the science. As Asad said, the science is there, the science is clear, he gave you all the stats. But what I thought was really great, what you said, was this in the stories. We're living this already. We live in this world, and we can see it. You know it every day. You know it when you're walking down the street, and you know that you're living in Scotland, living in the global north, you know that you'll never know it in the same way as the majority of the world. And that's what's really painful, because you're aware of the privilege you have. And I suppose this is why I campaign with XR. A lot of people say, oh, go campaign in other countries, go campaign here, go campaign there. But as I hit it right in the head, it's Britain, it's Scotland. We really need to live up to Scotland's place in this. That we were at the forefront of colonialism. We're not some side partner in this venture. We committed atrocities across the world, and we have a duty and an obligation to be creating the narrative towards reparations and justice. Yeah, I kind of forgot my point.
Lots of good points.
Thank you. Yeah, this is it. Sorry, your sticker got me. That was Borders Kill. This person here is wearing a sticker which says Borders Kill, and I think this is really important that we need to move beyond this idea of nations. Yes, I campaign with XR because the British government is accountable to me. I can't go to other countries and demand things of them which they didn't create. It's wrong. It would be wrong of me to do that, and I can't do it anyway. So we must demand of the British government, of the Scottish government, and most importantly as well of our industries. We live in capitalism. Our governments almost feel like a sideline. I need to demand of this system in a broader sense that it looks after our well-being and our prosperity and our livelihoods, and that it makes reparations for the fact that it didn't do that in the past. Yeah, I think that finance, sort of aid and so on, needs to be in the form of like helping adaptation, because we talk about this like it's a climate emergency, which it is a climate emergency, but I think that sort of gives it the sense that it's just happened now. That it happened in 2018, that like, oh, suddenly this is an emergency, and this has been an emergency for hundreds of years, for decades, and it's only seeming to come to this crux now because the climate is the central praxis around which all of these other issues intersect. I read this really beautiful piece by William Cronon called The Trouble with Wilderness. It talks about the dualistic sort of rhetoric between nature and wilderness and the other. And I think that really links into resource extraction, that we can extract stuff from over there, we can take it from over there, but that's not just about taking coal or energy. What you do when you do that is because those people are then linked with the land. They're seen as not human, they're seen as like collateral damage, and not worthy of our attention. That when we talk about resource extraction, we're also talking about the extraction of life from people. We're talking about the extraction of their dignity, the extraction of respect, which is an indictment on our culture and our society. I don't really know what I'm talking about anymore, I just got really upset instead. I suppose in terms of Extinction Rebellion, how we move beyond this is looking at our values. We often talk about no blaming and shaming, which is really important because, of course, companies for decades have created a very purposeful effort to make sure you're so upset with yourself, that you're wallowing in guilt, that you lose yourself in their void. And I can't spend one more second losing myself in their void. I need to take a stand for myself and say, you can't do this in my name anymore. And to do that, I need to openly challenge myself, and I need to openly challenge the toxic system which I live in. I need to challenge the fact that I embody that system. So while I'm all for like no blaming and shaming, because this is not your fault, it was never your fault, we can't use the idea of blaming and shaming to say, oh, don't blame me for the fact that Britain colonised half the world. Don't blame me that in our meeting spaces it's moneyed and propertied white men who take up all the space, while the silent majority carry on, just trying their best, but their narrative and their voices are never put at the central praxis of our actions. So I suppose in my activism, that's what I'm really trying to change. I'm trying to make networks between XR and the rest of the movement, create safer spaces and anti-oppression frameworks within our meeting spaces, because so often you have one or two people in our meeting saying, no, we can't focus on climate justice. That alienates the voices of the people, and you're like, oh, who do you mean when you say people? Because they mean white people, and they mean white men, and they mean propertied white men, and then they go, oh no, the working class. And you're like, oh no, don't weaponize the working class in that way. It's so disrespectful to the wealth and the culture of like working class people and the fight that they've put to create this culture for us where we have some sort of provision, where we have health services. They've really laid the groundwork. And for people to then turn around and say, oh, they can't understand climate justice, is an affront to their humanity. So I suppose just screw the nation state, screw privilege, and just take with you what Asad said today and keep fighting.
Hi everybody, I'm a little bit unprepared because I was told at the last minute to come along today. But I would just like to mention a few things about what's happening in Scotland and why I do the work I do. Right, so first of all, one day somebody said to me, why are you, Zarina, making climate change a race issue? Right? I'm not making it into a race issue, but as Asad said, it is an inequalities issue. So the climate crisis is an inequalities issue, and we have to address that as an inequalities issue. So my story started a little bit before that. So, I used to work on the climate change project in East Asia, very remote place, very deprived area, low aspiration, low SMID, low unemployment, the pits, basically. Right. And I used to work on climate change with people that were very marginalised, vulnerable, excluded. And when I was working there, I used to go to a lot of conferences, workshops, talks around climate change, climate justice, climate movements, and all of these were very white, and I was the only brown person around. So one day I was going along to a hustings, which is political parties, trying to sell themselves, and I was so excited because I thought I'm going to go and see somebody from the Green Party. Yeah, and the Green Party person, the politician, is things like me, is just like me, it believes in the same things as I do, wants to see change in the world, wants a better world for all. Better world for all. Went along, and it was a room like this, same kind of size, same kind of tables. Right, we were sitting there, went over, sat on the table, he looked over at me, and I got all excited. You know, little old me from East Asia, you know, somebody famous knows me, and I'm getting, how does he know me? Right. And then he even turns around and then opens his mouth to speak to me. Get even more excited. I was thinking, oh my God, he's going to speak to me, right? And he turns around and he actually says to me, your kind don't grow, do they? And I just kind of, at that time I stopped and I was like, in my head, 101 permutations were going on in my head. What does he mean by your kind? Does he mean that I'm from East Asia? Does he mean, and I'm thinking, East Asia's got lots of farmland there. And I'm thinking, or has he heard me speak and he knows that I'm not Scottish and I'm Newcastle? Do Geordies not grow? I don't know. Never really thought about it. Well, so my town, maybe we don't grow. I don't know. Then I'm thinking, am I a woman? Do women not grow? You know, it was like all these ideas were going through my head thinking, what does he actually mean by my kind? And it was only when the rest of the room got silent that I realised what he was referring to. He was referring to the colour of my skin. So being brown. Brown people don't grow. Right? And the worst thing was, he didn't just say it once, he repeated it again. Right? Now, I don't know if that repetition was because he thought I didn't understand English and he needed to say it again. So I don't know. But this is my point, that how the climate change and the climate justice movement is the inequalities, the racism is actually embedded, right? And I don't want to play the blame game here, right? So, and I think Niamh did a very good job of doing that in a very positive way, right? But it's more about how do we go forward and recognise the narratives that are the negative narratives, right? And then we've got a responsibility to address those negative narratives. So I'm going to use Greta Thunberg as an example. She's great, she's brilliant at what she does, but she's not the only one, right? She's not the only young person. There are many like her in the global south that are crying out for justices. So we have to recognise those people. Greta Thunberg has just recently made a statement that she says that you, to the politicians, you are stealing my childhood, right? Now, that had an impact here in the Western world, but the rest of the global south were up in arms because it's a point of reference. What are they talking about? What childhood has she been stolen? What has been stolen from whom? Compared to the people that are living in poverty, that have no homes, no food. And that is a result of what we're doing here. Then the narratives from XR that we're talking about a better future for us all. Better future for our families, better future for our children. And the climate emergency is about now, it's not about the future. And again, like Niamh said, who are they talking about when they're talking about a better future for all? Because they're not including those voices that are marginalised. Now, one of the reasons, well not the reasons, but one of the obstacles with XR for a lot of marginalised communities, right, is the fact that XR glorify being arrested, right? That is the ultimate goal for XR. Let's get arrested. Let's cause disruption. And even on the newspapers yesterday, they talked about how many people were arrested because of what Exxon did. Brilliant, they caused disruption. They're in the newspapers, they're bringing the attention of climate change. But for somebody who's from a marginalised group, right, if they're black or brown, you know that the statistics for them being arrested is a lot higher. Also, if you have a criminal record, it's already difficult getting jobs if you're black or brown, but then it's even worse if you've got a criminal record. And that's not taken into account anyway in the climate justice movement. So we are excluding a lot of people. People say they're hard to reach, hard to engage. They're not. They're just being excluded by the activities, the narratives, the discussions that are happening. Right. And and also I want to talk about adapting. Right, so when we're talking about the impacts of climate change, and it's going back to what Asad said, that when we're thinking about climate adaptation, who are we adapting for, and who are we including in that? We're not bringing people that voices aren't being heard to the table. We're not taking into consideration their needs, right? And we need to be inclusive of everybody. And people always say to me, how do you include people, and whose responsibility is it? Yesterday, I was at a talk yesterday, and I used an analogy of a party, right? So if you're hosting a party, you decide who's being invited, right? It's up to you. You're the ones that will decide who's going to be invited to your party. So if you want to make sure the right people are there, then you send out them invites, right? So that's been about diversity, showing diversity when you have a party, right? But then, to include people, it's like saying, I'm going to have a dance, would you like to dance? That's including people. And then allowing someone to take over the dance floor is like belonging. So that's giving them their place. Right? However, my job, trying to diverse the environmental sector, has been like being the gate crasher. So I'm the gate crasher at parties. I'm the one that knocks on the doors and says, let me in, let me in. And it's tiring because sometimes, many times, the doors are slammed in my face. And sometimes the doors are open, and you have allies that say, come on in, come and join us, which is good. But it takes time, and it's really, really, really hard. So that's about all I've got to say just now.